Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.
Hello and welcome back to Undercurrent. I'm Christy Mullica. Well, next up, Roxy Wykes investigates the Fragile X syndrome.
Every week in Australia, one child is born who is fully affected by Fragile X syndrome.
Fragile X syndrome is the most common known inherited cause of developmental disability and the most common single gene cause of autism. The cause of the syndrome is a result of the expansion or lengthening of a gene on the X chromosome. When the gene lengthens, it switches off production of a protein that is normally vital for normal mental health function.
The Fragile X Association of Australia recently held an informative seminar at Perth Zoo in order to educate carers, families and teachers on this condition.
The association was started in 1988 by a group of parents who came together who had children with Fragile X and there was no support groups, there was no support for them at the time.
I was 8 years old and my parents knew nothing about it, so basically they got a piece of paper that said your son Michael Cohen has Fragile X, and that was it.
Most people are not aware of Fragile X syndrome. Most people look normal, but they're just struggling with understanding the world. They've had learning difficulties and often not been diagnosed.
I didn't really know much about it at the time. You know, I didn't know why I was anxious, I didn't know why I was screaming, I didn't know, quite a lot of things until I was a lot older.
And how you find yourself dealing with the syndrome that you do have?
I'm dealing with it alright. I'm on medication and lots of help, and it's good.
There's no cure for the condition, but there's a whole range of treatment and management strategies, including medications, behaviour management. They can get speech therapy, occupational therapy, and psychological support.
And what do you like doing? What are your interests?
I like listening to music, watching TV, walking the dog, gardening, driving, shopping, the normal stuff that everyone does, running around.
There's a much greater knowledge of Fragile X as a result of a lot of the work of the association. It's still a very small organisation. We don't have government funding. We rely on grant funding for things like this seminar. But there's a greater understanding of Fragile X and the impact of Fragile X.
We have 8 education support classes in our school. That constitutes about 65 students with special needs, and it's been, I feel, really good for the whole school community.
Education and just that experience of interacting with children with a wide variety of special needs breaks down that sort of fear and anxiety that a lot of children may otherwise have.
I think it's imperative for teachers to attend seminars like this.
Definitely, yeah, obviously, the more knowledge and understanding you have, the better you're able to, modify your educational program and, specifically meet the needs of the child concerned. So, yeah, it's very, very important.
We would love to have annual seminars, but they're really just dependent on funding. We cover the whole of Australia from an office with 4 part-time staff.
The Fragile X Conference has informed and educated teachers and families on how to communicate effectively to those diagnosed with this condition. I'm Roxy Wykes reporting from Undercurrent.
Next up on Undercurrent, Fernanda Mizzen investigates those seemingly increasing out-of-control parties.
Need you back home, baby. Doctor, where you at? Give me something. I need your love, I need your love, I need your loving.
house parties is an option for teenagers have some fun. But with too much alcohol, the parties are turning out of control.
So I was in the police force for 13 years in Victoria, and then I went out and opened up a private security firm that specialises in teenage party security. And then that led me to develop my not-for-profit company, which is Safe Partying Australia. The main factor, I guess, with parties going out of control is alcohol. If the alcohol is not managed, then you will have a problem.
Have any problems in your neighborhood with that?
Yeah, sometimes we do with young people, you know, getting out of control. There's always too much alcohol consumed.
When you're working in a nightclub or pub, you have like an established rules that you follow. But when you're working in a private party like that, and in a house, or just call it as you want, it's hard because the person that is hiring you is your boss, but at the same time they're part of the party.
The responsibility owners of the place to really sort things out. You know, if you're going to invite people who come over and wreck your house anyway, you know, it's your own fault really.
The same method, the same reasons why parties go out of control in WA, in Victoria, it's the same reason why all the other states, they have the same ingredients. At the end of the day, if you go away, you either have a responsible parent staying with those kids or a responsible friend, you know. So I'm sorry, but I don't doesn't work with me. You know, we didn't know. I don't believe that.
We usually call the police when there's something big involved, like a huge fight that we cannot control, or if there is weapons.
What parents can do in the interim is manage the alcohol. 85% of teen parties will go to control because alcohol is not managed. The other 15% is gate crashes. I've seen gate crashes jump off roofs of houses, so they just need to be. If there's a weak spot along the perimeter of the fence, what I usually do is get parents to actually observe that area. So basically, if they can notify the police during the week before the party, the ratio of crowd control, if they can afford it, is 2 crowd controls for the first 100 teens and 1 every 100 after that.
Maybe get bouncers?
Yeah, get security or don't put it on Facebook.
Yeah, have invites, post them out.
Yeah, because as soon as it's on Facebook, everyone sees. Yeah.
And then it just gets out of hand.
The parents need to take responsibility of their sons and daughters' parties. I am Fernanda Mizin, reporting for Undercurrent.
Next up, Naomi Drysdale reflects upon the very recent art auction for autism.
We're here in South Fremantle for Helen Norton's art charity auction for the Autism Association of Western Australia. So Helen, why is it that you decided to have an auction night, donate your art for charity for the Autism Association?
I was approached by the Autism Association of West Australia to see whether I'd work with them on raising funds for their community clubhouse. And the obvious idea was to actually put on a function here at the gallery. And I've got plenty of artwork and it's an easy thing to do to help out.
Now this is Russell Thomas and he's the Executive Manager of Employment and Community Options for the Autism Association of WA. How are you tonight and what are your expectations for this evening?
My expectation is to raise money for adults with autism to have a clubhouse that they can access. People with autism, especially people who have fairly good verbal skills, often find it really difficult to communicate with who they call the neurotypicals, the average person like you and I, because very concrete thinkers. And so when people with Asperger's get together, they actually like communicating with each other because they can talk about 2 completely different things, be interested in what each other's talking about, not interrupt, and not buy into who's having the best conversation and who's not.
Hopefully everyone's in a very generous spirit, and it's not so much, well, it's about the art, but it's also about people's generosity when it comes to charity auctions. So hopefully everyone's going to dig deep and enjoy actually picking up some art as well.
And do you have any ideas of how much can be raised from today's auction?
It's hard to know until everyone arrives. So, yeah, you sort of just check out the bulges in people's pockets and see how deep their wallets go. But sometimes you can be very, very surprised how generous some people can be.
And how did you hear about today's auction?
Well, we work at the Autism Association, so we heard about it through work.
We do see the clients, and I think it'd be really, really great for them to have somewhere like this. I think it'll make a huge amount of difference. They'll have a really nice space where they can relax and enjoy themselves. I think it'll make a huge difference to their lives.
Item number 9, the dogs. We're looking at a value of $800. Sold for $450. Can going, $350. Sold to you at $350.
How did you feel tonight when?
I loved it. It was great. Everyone was incredibly generous. Everyone dug deep and did the best that they could, and I bought a piece, so I'm incredibly happy about that.
How are you feeling after your wonderful purchases tonight?
I love this picture. I love the other print that we got, the etching. So, yeah, really happy. Really happy to have the pictures and really happy to have contributed to the Autism Association.
Here's John Mechanica, and she's just purchased this wonderful piece. Tell us, how do you feel about your purchase?
Oh, look, the moment I saw the painting, I knew I actually had to have it. And I think the reason why it means so much to me is that, first of all, I love the imagery, but I also love the title of a hero. And when I think about people with autism, I think about everyday heroes and about people who get up every day and live with a very, very difficult disability and try their hardest. And this painting really depicts people really working at it. And I think, so I'm really, really delighted to have this painting. I love the colour. I love the vibrancy of the colour. I'm just captivated by it.
How do you feel about your purchase tonight?
I'm very excited about my purchase, thank you very much. Yeah, and it's great to be contributing to such a fine cause.
Now, the piece was actually valued at $300, but you paid almost double for that. So why is that?
Well, I think, again, it's about contributing to a wonderful cause, and that's really what I wanted to do. And it's not so much the value, it's the cause.
Now, Russell, $11,000 was raised tonight. How do you feel about that?
Considering my target was 6.5, 8, I am over the moon. I'm absolutely happy, and it just means that we can buy better quality equipment, better quality facilities for the clubhouse, because that's what it's for.
Thanks, Russell.
Thank you. My pleasure.
This is Naomi Drysdale reporting for Undercurrent.
Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Undercurrent, but don't forget, we're looking for your feedback. So you can follow us on Facebook or on Twitter, or visit our website, wtvperth.com.au. I'm Christy Molliker, and I hope I see you next week for more of Western Australia's very own Undercurrent.
Undercurrent, sponsored by John Hughes in Victoria Park. Choose your station before you choose your program. Absolutely.